Hi guys, so in today's video, we are going to take a behind the scenes look at what I had done to come to the state that we are in now, which is the Bandai Real Grade Evangelion Unit-08 scale model kit that you see fully assembled and posed here. In essence, what I had done is actually to place some water decals on certain sections of this EVA unit, as well as do some panel lining on some of the grooves, and also to top coat some sections of this kit with a top clear matte coat. Apart from that, this is a fairly straightforward out of the box build. Later on in the video, I will also show you the weapons of this EVA unit. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first though, before we get started with the assembly of this Real Grade Evangelion 08 Alpha scale model kit, let's first have a look at the individual sub-assemblies which I had already put together here and see the things that I had done to it. Now, starting off with the EVA unit's head. For the head, I did nothing apart from just putting it together, meaning I didn't put any decals, nor any panel lining or any clear coat. The head is a fairly straightforward build without any additional work done on it. Now for the body of the EVA unit, what I had done was mainly just to assemble it and to apply some water decals on the white section of its body armor, as well as on the back, including the upper half of the back of the chest area. So that's the body. Let's move on now to the shoulder pylons. The most visible work is the huge water decal on the shoulder pylon, and that small white curve is also a water decal. So the shoulder pylons mainly had water decals applied on them. Meanwhile, for the arms, I had also applied some water decals on the upper half as well as lower half of the arms. As you can see, there's that green letterings on black strip, which is mainly predominantly on the forearm. So that's the arms of the EVA unit. Lastly are the hands. Now all I did for this various hand options was to assemble it. If I were to follow the instructions to a T, I would have had to place some stickers on the knuckles, but I didn't do that because I'm pretty sure the stickers wouldn't stick very well and would just fall off from the knuckles. So I've just let them assemble as is. Now for the legs, I have mainly applied water decals mainly on the upper thigh as well as the knee section, and also the back of the upper thigh too. These are mainly the places where I placed the water decals. These are the things that I had done. So now let's go into the assembly process. Laid out on the work mat you see here are the various sub-assemblies that I had assembled off camera. It makes the assembly process faster, which I'm going to begin by attaching the head of the EVA onto its body. It's a simple round pack into a hole connection, and it allows a fairly reasonable amount of movement for the head and neck. That's the head of the EVA 08 unit attached to the body. I'll now proceed with the arms. It's a similar connection system, a pack and a hole. So that's the right arm attached. Following that, I'm going to place the shoulder pylons onto the top of that arm. In the previous Real Grade Evangelion scale model kit that I had assembled, there was an option to either place the shoulder pylons or not. That is specifically for the EVA Unit-08, but in the case of the EVA Unit-08 Alpha, there is no option to do without the shoulder pylons. Hence, the shoulder pylons have to be attached to the arms. Now, what you see here is me putting on the shoulder pylons at the top of the shoulder rather, not the arms, because it is actually much easier to do that than to place the arms first and then do the shoulder pylons. That's both arms and shoulder pylons attached to the EVA unit's main torso. Just removing it and making sure the connections are tight, because it felt a little bit loose to me. So just readjusting the connections like so. Before putting everything back onto the torso. So I guess it seems that attaching the shoulder pylons onto the arms first is actually the better way than to attach the pylon first before attaching the arm. So I guess I got it right the first time. Anyway, here I'm just reattaching everything back onto the EVA unit's torso, and it feels much more secure now. Now, there are 5 hand options to choose from, and I'm just choosing a random pick here. One with a sort of open arm, open-handed pose. Similar for the right hand, just that the open-handed pose is slightly varied. It's more with the fingers splayed out. Now that's done, I'm going to attach the legs of the EVA unit, starting with its left leg. The way the connection is such, I think it gives the EVA unit a lot of freedom of movement, which I'll show later on. That's the Evangelion Unit-08 Alpha assemble. Now let's test out the articulation as well as the freedom of movement afforded by its limbs, namely its arms and legs. I'll begin the articulation and freedom of movement test by first looking at the Evangelion unit's arms. I'm going to see how well I can move the arms around the joints between the shoulders and the torso. But before I start doing that, let's have a quick look at the movement on the EVA unit's head and neck region. Articulation is fairly limited. I mean, there's a simple up and down and left and right movement, but it's enough, I believe, for a quite number of realistic poses with the head. So now let's just have a detailed look at the articulation of the arms. So that sticker foil on the arm tends to come out a lot, and I can foresee in the future it will just peel off completely. That's the down point of using sticker foils. It can be splayed out on a full 90-degree angle from its torso, and it can bend at the elbow nearly completely in on itself. And I say nearly because you can still spot a gap between the upper half and the lower half of its arm. But the fact that you can bend it in such a way that the hands are more or less touching its chest area is actually proof enough that it has good articulation at the elbows. If you hadn't noticed, one piece have popped out from near its elbow. It is a weak point that the Unit-08 also has. I had gone off camera to attach back that loose piece from its upper half of the arm. Now that I've done that, let's go ahead and have a look at the articulation on its torso. The connections and joints allow the torso to bend backwards like so, as well as forwards. This allows a more natural stance and pose of the Eva so that it's not standing stiffly and unnaturally. Now what I'm trying to do here is to see whether the Eva can do a full 180-degree split at the legs, and I believe I'm not able to do that. So let's leave that be. Now I'm trying to see how high it can kick, and that's a fairly high kick. And the bend at the knee is very good. It can bend completely in on itself. Next, I'm going to check the stability of the Eva unit by seeing if it can stand on its own 2 feet. So it looks like it can do so. It's stable enough to stand on its own 2 feet without the help of a base. Now, the foot has some articulation too. The tip of the toe can bend, and the feet can also turn around at the ankle. What all these slight movements of the feet does is to improve the stability of the Eva unit when you're trying to pose it in various stances when it's standing on its own 2 feet. This then is the full 360-degree view of the fully assembled Real Grade Evangelion Unit-08 Alpha. I really like how natural its standing pose is, which is made possible only because its torso can bend either inwards or outwards. Now that, together with its ability of its legs to bend at the knees as well as the hands to bend at the elbows, allows a sort of an S-shaped standing pose, which is much more natural looking than a straight stiff back pose. Despite this being a largely straight out of the box build without any painting done on it, to me it still looks fantastic, even without its accessories like the umbilical cable and its weapons such as the sniper rifle, which we'll look at now. Now that we have gotten a look at the Real Grade Evangelion Unit-08 scale model kit, fully assembled, sans its weapons, we'll now move on to the weapons that I have prepared off camera. What you see laid out here are some hand options that go together with the guns as well as the guns themselves. So now here is the assault rifle, the 209mm assault rifle. So what I've done here is to panelline the gun, top coat it with the clear matte coat, as well as to put some third-party water decals on them. That's about all that I did, and as you can see, it still looks not too bad. Of course, painting it would have been better, but I believe this is a good compromise to have the assault rifle looking as good as it is. The shiny bits that you see on this assault rifle are actually some foil stickers that are placed within the rifle. Now this huge gigantic gun that you see here is the sniper rifle. Similar to the assault rifle, I've just applied some water decals and top coated it, as well as applied some panel lining in certain sections. But apart from that, I didn't paint it at all. To me, it looks not too bad. I mean, the alternative I would have done was to paint it in a metallic color, but I think it looks good as it is. Next up are the palette knives. Now there's the folded version as well as the unfolded one. What I've done here is to panel line the red letterings with some red enamel paint, and the edge, the shiny edge that you see there is actually a foil sticker. And I've also actually panel lined the rest of the knife in black enamel paint, if I'm not mistaken. So all in all, the work that I did for the weapons of the Evangelion unit is actually very straightforward. Now I'm going to attach the hand options that are holding the assault rifle. It comes in two halves, and it encloses the handle of the assault rifle. It is a good concept in a sense that the rifle is then securely placed in the hands of the EVA unit. So that's the hand options for the assault rifle. I'll move on now to the sniper rifle. The sniper rifle is a tad more complicated. There are two hands that go onto the sniper rifle, the right and the left hand. So I'm going to place the right trigger finger for the right hand onto the sniper rifle first, at least one half of it. The concept is similar to that of the assault rifle. You have two halves of a hand enclosing the handle for a more secure grip on the weapon. So that's the other half of the right hand, which I'm now fixing in place. Now that shiny red bits that you just saw there are the lenses, which comprise the clear red parts. So now that I've gotten the right hand on, I'll proceed to place the left hand. The left hand is holding on to the handle of the sniper rifle. Similar to the rest of the hand options, it comes in two halves for a more secure grip. If I were to have painted this sniper rifle instead of doing what I did here, perhaps I would have repainted the whole thing in metallic colors. And that would have been a good look, I believe, for the sniper rifle. But as I can see from here, even just top coating it, the sniper rifle looks not too bad. That's both hand options attached to the sniper rifle. I'll proceed to the palette knife. It's a very simple grip, also similar to the hand options for the assault rifle and the sniper rifle, in which the hands come in two halves to be attached at each side of the knife's handle, like so. So that's the palette knife being held by one of the hand options. For the posing of the Evangelion Unit-08, most likely I'll just pose it with the sniper rifle, because as I recall, what I remember from watching the Neon Genesis Evangelion anime, the iconic weapons that are used by the EVA Unit-08 are the sniper rifle and the pistol. I don't recall it using the knives or the assault rifle, but I could be wrong here because it's been quite some time since I last saw the anime. But what I can remember clearly is it using a pistol and the sniper rifle. Since there's no pistol included, I'm just going to pose it now with the sniper rifle. But before I do a full-on pose of the Evangelion Unit-08 with its sniper rifle, I'm just going to attach all the weapons that is laid out on the work mat here onto the EVA unit and just give you a rough sense of how the EVA unit will look with the other weapons as well. Let's start off first with the assault rifle. But before I can attach the assault rifle onto the EVA unit, I'll have to remove the existing hand options first, i.e. the splayed out hands. So hold on a moment, the hand on the assault rifle seems to have come loose. Let me just reattach it. I guess you could glue it together if you don't want it to ever come out while you are posing the EVA unit. So the right hand goes into the arm like so, with the assault rifle attached, and then you can pose the EVA unit with the assault rifle. I guess the greens do contrast well with the light pinks of the EVA unit itself, so there's not too much of a color clash. Now let me remove the assault rifle and move on to another weapon. Let's see what I should put on next. Now that's the foil sticker coming loose again. Like I said earlier, I guess it's just a matter of time before that foil sticker comes loose completely. Not a very good design for a placement of the foil sticker. It's also right on the part of the arm near the elbow where the joint is rather loose. That was the same for the earlier EVA Unit-08 scale model kit that I had assembled earlier. Okay, so let me remove the other hand, and now let's pose the Evangelion Unit-08 with the palette knives. Now the hands seems to have come loose again, this time on the palette knife. So perhaps a good option would be to glue both halves together. That's the right hand on. Now let's put on the left. You can see some nice cool poses that you can do with these two with knives on each hand. So there's potential for a cool pose with the knives as its weapons. But the main draw would be the huge sniper rifle there. But before I do that, I guess I should show you where the folded palette knives go. They in fact go into the shoulder pylons, so you can actually store these knives inside these shoulder pylons. And in an anime, that's the section where the EVA unit actually gets its knife from. So it's kind of a weapon storage comes shoulder pylon. With that out of the way, let me now ensure that the joints at the elbow is okay before I proceed to attach the huge sniper rifle onto the EVA unit. Now it's a bit tricky. I will have to position it correctly so that the right hand and the left hand attach to the respective arms without unnecessary pressure on the wrist. Just finding the best position in which I can slot both hands in. I guess this is good enough. That's the EVA with the sniper rifle attached. Just making sure its connection is tight. Going forward, on my display cabinet, I'm going to pose the Evangelion Unit-08 with the sniper rifle. I believe that's the coolest weapon that you can have, at least when being on display, especially for this EVA Unit-08 scale model kit. As EVA units go, I believe Bandai has knocked this out of the park. It's an extremely accurate scale model kit of the Evangelion Unit-08, and I would go as far as to say that this particular scale model kit of the Evangelion Unit-08 is a must-have, especially if you are a fan of the Neon Genesis Evangelion anime series. Now, I'm not going to end the video yet. I'm going to post this Evangelion Unit-08 with its gigantic sniper rifle, and we'll just have a look at how cool it is. Here then, we have a full 360-degree view of the Evangelion Unit-08 in a crouching position, holding on to its huge sniper rifle, and also with the umbilical cable and the power plug attached to its back. In the anime, the EVA unit only has an internal battery that can allow it to stay in operation for just 5 minutes. So if it wants to continue operating longer than that, it needs to have that power plug and umbilical power cable attached to its back. Now that power cable of course connects to an external power source. As you can see here, that sniper rifle looks huge relative to the EVA unit that's holding it. I believe this is the pose that I'm going to use for my display cabinet. I think it looks really cool, and I don't think so I'll be using the alternative weapons such as the pellet knife or the assault rifle, and neither would I want to pose it with just its bare hands. The only worry that I have displaying the EVA unit like this is that long barrel of the sniper rifle might start to bend downwards over time due to the effects of gravity. It would have been better if Bandai had provided a metal barrel, but it wouldn't have been cost effective. Because the assembly process of this EVA 08 unit was kind of similar to the earlier Real Grade EVA Unit-0 that I had done, I can say that the enjoyment of putting this kit together was not as high, in the sense that it was nothing new. Most of the steps seemed familiar, but that being said, I still enjoyed putting it together. And more than that, if you're an Evangelion fan, this kit is a must-have, because you would want the EVA 08 unit in your display cabinet, and this real grade version of the EVA unit looks really realistic and spot on. I hope that you have enjoyed this assembly and review of the EVA 08 unit. Thanks for watching and have a great day.